verse says, when the time of death arrived for the foolish Ajamila, he began thinking exclusively of his son Narayana. Purport. In the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.6, Sukadeva Goswami says, Etavan Sankhya Yoga Yam Swadharma Parinistaya Janma Labha Para Pumsam Ante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by acquirement of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of one's occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Harivilas. Somehow or other, Ajamila consciously or unconsciously chanted the name of Narayana at the time of death, Ante Narayana Smriti, and therefore he became all perfect simply by concentrating his mind on the name of Narayana. It may also be concluded that Ajamila, that Ajamila, who was the son of a Brahmin, was accustomed to worshiping Narayana in his youth, because in every Brahmana's house there is worship of the Narayana Shiva. This system is still present in India. In a rigid Brahmana's house, there is Narayana Seva, or worship of Narayana. Therefore, although the contaminated Ajamil was calling for his son by concentrating his mind on the holy name of Narayana, he remembered the Narayana he had very faithfully worshipped in his youth. In this regard, Srila Siddhara Swami expressed his verdict as follows. According to the Bhakti Siddhanta, it is to be analyzed that because Ajamila constantly chanted his son's name, and his son's name was Narayana, he was elevated to the platform of bhakti, although he did not know it. Similarly, Srila Vira Raghava Acharya gives his opinion, Evam Varta Manasa Dvija Mrityu Kale Upastite Satyajo Satya Satya no Narayana Kriye Putra Eva Matim Chakra Matim Asaktam Akarod iti artha. Although at the time of death he was chanting the name of his son, he nevertheless concentrated his mind upon the holy name of Narayana, which was the name of his son. Srila Vijayadvaja Tirtha gives a similar opinion. Directly or indirectly, Ajamila factually remembered Narayana at the time of death. Ante Narayana Smriti. Text 28 and 29. Ajamila then saw three awkward persons in deformed bodily features, fierce, twisted faces, and hair standing erect on their bodies, with ropes in their hands. They had come to take him away to the abode of Yamaraja. Yeah, because he had lived a very sinful life. When he saw them, he was extremely bewildered, and because of attachment to his child, who was playing a short distance away, Ajamila began to call him loudly by his name. Well, what was his name? Narayana. Thus, with tears in his eyes, he somehow or other chanted the holy name of Narayana. Purport, a person who performs sinful activities performs them with his body, mind, and words. Therefore, three order carriers from Yamaraja came to take Ajamila to Yamaraja's abode. Fortunately, even though he was referring to his son, Ajamila chanted the four syllables of Hari Nama Narayana, and therefore the order carriers of Narayana, the Vishnu Dutas, also immediately arrived there because Ajamila was extremely afraid of the ropes of Yamarajan. He chanted the holy name, he chanted the Lord's name with tearful eyes. Actually, however, he never meant to chant the holy name of Narayana. He meant to call his son.
Hmm.
Text 30. My dear king, the order carriers of Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, immediately arrived when they heard the holy names of their master from the mouth of the dying Ajamila, who had certainly chanted without offense because he had chanted in complete anxiety. Although he is so sinful, but he chanted the name of Narayan. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks, Hari Kirtanam Nisam Patan Katam Bhutasya Bhartur Nama Ruvata. The order carriers of Lord Vishnu came because Ajamila had chanted the holy name of Narayana. They did not consider why he was chanting. While chanting the name of Narayana, Ajamila was actually thinking of his son, but simply because he heard Ajamila chanting the Lord's name, the order carriers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, immediately came for Ajamila's protection. Hari Kirtana actually meant is actually meant to glorify the holy name, form, pastimes, and qualities of the Lord. Ajamila, however, did not glorify the form, qualities, or paraphernalia of the Lord. He simply chanted the holy name. Nevertheless, in other words, that was the name of his son. Okay. Nevertheless, that chanting was sufficient to cleanse him of all sinful activities. As soon as the Vishnu Dutas heard their master's name being chanted, they immediately came in this regard. They immediately came. In this regard, Srila Vijayadwaja Tirtha remarks, Anena putra sneham antarena prachin adrista balad udbhutaya bhaktya bhagavan nama sankirtanam kirtam iti janayate. Ajamila chanted the name of Narayana because of his excessive attachment to his son. Nevertheless, because his past good fortune in having rendered devotional service to Narayana, he apparently chanted the holy name in full devotional service and without offenses.
Hmm.
Text 31. The order carriers of Yamaraja were snatching the soul from the core of the heart of Ajamila, the husband of the prostitute, but with resounding voices, the messengers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, forbade them to do so. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, a Vaishnava, one who has surrendered to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, is always protected by Lord Vishnu's order carriers. Because Ajamila had chanted the holy name of Narayana, the Vishnu Dutas not only immediately arrived on the spot, but also at once ordered the Yamadutas not to touch him. Now, very important. By speaking with resounding voices, the Vishnu Dutas threatened to punish the Yamadutas if they continued trying to snatch Ajamila's soul from his heart. The order carriers of Yamaraja have jurisdiction over all sinful living entities, but the messengers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, are capable of punishing anyone, including Yamaraja, if he wrongs a Vaishnava. Materialistic scientists do not know where to find the soul within the body with their material instruments. But this verse clearly explains that the soul is within the core of the heart, Hridaya. It is from the heart that the Yamadutas were extracting the soul of Ajamila. Similarly, we learn that the supersoul, Lord Vishnu, is also situated within the heart. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hridese Prijanatistate. In the Upanishads, it is said that the supersoul and individual soul are living in the same tree of the body as two friendly birds. The supersoul is said to be friendly because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so kind to the original soul that when the original soul transmigrates from one body to another, the Lord goes with him. Furthermore, according to desire and karma of the individual soul, the Lord, through the agency of Maya, creates another body for him. The heart of the body is a mechanical arrangement, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.61, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hirdeshe Arjuna Tishtati Pramayam Sarvabhutani Yantaruprani Mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. Yantra means a machine, such as an automobile. 1 second. Such as an automobile. The driver of the machine of the body is the individual soul, who is also its director or proprietor. But the supreme proprietor is the supreme Lord, personality of Godhead. One's body is created through the agency of Maya, Karmana, Karmana Daiva Lechena. And according to one's activities in this life, another vehicle is created again under the supervision of Daivi Maya. Daivi is Gunamayi, Mama Maya Durateya. At the appropriate time, one's next body is immediately chosen, and both the individual soul and the super soul transfer to that particular bodily machine. This is the process of transmigration. During transmigration from one body to the next, the soul is taken away by the order carriers of Yamaraja and put into a particular type of hellish life, Naraka, in order to become accustomed to the condition in which he will live in his next body. Text 32. When the order carriers of Yamaraj, the son of the sun god, were thus forbidden, they replied, "Who are you, sirs, that have the audacity to challenge the jurisdiction of Yamaraj?" Purport. According to the sinful activities of Ajamila, he was within the jurisdiction of Yamaraja, the supreme judge appointed to consider the sins of living entities. When forbidden to touch Ajamila, the order carriers of Yamaraja were surprised because they had never been hindered in the execution of their duty by anyone within the three worlds. Text number 33. Dear sirs, whose servants are you? Where have you come from? And why are you forbidding us to touch the body of Ajamila? Are you demigods from the heavenly planets? Are you sub-demigods? Or are you the best of devotees? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The most significant word used in this verse is Sita Satama, which means the best of the perfect. In Bhagavad Gita 7:3, it is said, Manusyanam Sahasresu Kaschit Jati Sitaye. Out of millions of persons, one may try to become Siddha, perfect, or in other words, self-realized. A self-realized person knows that he is not the body, but a spiritual soul. Aham Brahmasmi. At the present moment, practically everyone is unaware of this fact. But one who understands this has attained perfection and is therefore called Siddha. When one understands that the soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, and one thus engages in devotional service of the Supreme Soul, one becomes Siddha Satama. One is then eligible to live in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. The word Siddha Satama therefore refers to a liberated, pure devotee. Since the Yamadutas are servants of Yamaraja, who is also one of the Siddha Satamas. They knew that a Siddha Satama is above the demigods and sub-demigods, and indeed abused above all the living entities within this material world. The Yamadutas therefore inquired why the Vishnudutas were present where a sinful man was going to die. Good question. It should also be noted that Ajamila was not yet dead, for the Yamadutas were trying to snatch the soul from his heart. They could not take the soul, however, and therefore Ajamila was not yet dead. This will be revealed in later verses. Ajamila was simply in an unconscious state when the argument was in progress between Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas. The conclusion of the argument was to be a decision regarding who would claim the soul of Ajamila.
So this is like the coma state or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes.
yes, exactly. Text 34 and 36. The carriers of Yamara, sometimes people stay, like they can stay maybe a very long time in a coma.
Mm-hmm.
And then, strangely, they come out of it.
Yeah.
After being in a coma sometimes for months or years. So, what's happening in the state of coma is there's a discussion going on. What should they do with this person? Right? The order carriers of Yamarath said, "Your eyes are just like the petals of lotus flowers, dressed in yellow silken garments, decorated with garlands of lotuses, and wearing very attractive helmets on your heads, and earrings on your ears. You all appear fresh and youthful. Your four long arms are decorated with bows and quivers of arrows, and with swords, clubs, conch shells, discs, and lotus flowers. Your effulgence has dissipated the darkness of this place with extraordinary illumination. Now, sir, why are you obstructing us? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Before even being introduced to a foreigner, one becomes acquainted with him through his dress, bodily features, and behavior, and can thus understand his position. Therefore, when the Yamadutas saw the Vishnudutas for the first time, they were surprised. They said, "By your bodily features, you appear to be very exalted gentlemen, and you have such celestial power that you have dissipated the darkness of this material world with your own effulgences. Why then you endeavor to stop us from executing our duty?" It will be explained that Yamadutas, the order carriers of Yamaraja, mistakenly considered Ajamila sinful. They did not know that although he was sinful throughout his entire life, he was purified by constantly chanting the holy name of Narayana. In other words, unless one is a Vaishnava, one cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. Well, they were chanting that he gave his son the name of Narayana because previously, before he became very sinful, he was a devotee up to around age 16. And then he became corrupted by a prostitute. And the rest of his life, he was a very sinful person. And he had, I think, 10 children, but the last one was his pet child, and he named him Narayana. So he was with his pet son when he was on a moment to die, and he called out his son, Narayana. Okay, so let's see what this says. The dress and bodily features of the residents of Vaikuntha Loka are properly described in these verses. The residents of Vaikuntha Loka, who are decorated with garlands and yellow silken garments, have 4 arms holding various weapons. Thus, they conspicuously resemble Lord Vishnu. They have the same bodily features as Narayana because they have attained the liberation of Sarupya. They nevertheless act as servants. All the residents of Vaikuntha Loka know perfectly well that their master is Narayana or Krishna, and that they are all his servants. They are all self-realized souls who are Nitya Mukta, everlastingly liberated. Although they could conceivably declare themselves Narayana or Vishnu, they never do so. They always remain Krishna conscious and serve the Lord faithfully. Such is the atmosphere of Vaikuntha Loka. Similarly, one who learns the faithful service of Lord Krishna through the Krishna consciousness movement will always remain in Vaikuntha Loka and have nothing to do with the material world. Harivilas.
Mm.
Text 37. Sukadeva Goswami continued, being thus addressed by the messengers of Yamaraja, the servants of Vasudeva smiled and spoke the following words in voices as deep as the sound of rumbling clouds. Wow. Purport. The Yamadutas were surprised to see the Vishnudutas, although polite, were hindering the rule of Yamaraj. Similarly, the Vishnudutas were also surprised that the Yamadutas, although claiming to be servants of Yamaraja, the supreme judge of religious principles, were unaware of the principles of religious action. Thus, the Vishnudutas smiled, thinking, what is this nonsense they are speaking? If they are actually servants of Yamaraja, they should know that Ajamila is not a suitable candidate for them to carry off. Yeah, that makes sense. Text 38. However, the blessed messengers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnudutas, said, if you are actually servants of Yamaraja, you must explain to us the meaning of religious principles and the symptoms of irreligion. Yes, they're surprised because this Ajamila was a very sinful man and he was destined to go to hell. But now they're just doing their job. They come and they're ready to take him to hell. They didn't realize that he said the name of God at that moment of death. Okay, so let's see what it says. The inquiry by the Vishnu Dutas to the Yamadutas is most important. A servant must know the instructions of his master. The servants of Yamaraja claim to be carrying out his orders, and therefore the Vishnu Dutas very intelligently ask them to explain the symptoms of religious and irreligious principles. A Vaishnava knows these principles perfectly well because he is well acquainted with the instructions of the Supreme Personality of God. Well, okay, what does that mean? Well, a Vaishnava knows that if he can say the name of God at the moment of death, even though he's been very sinful throughout his life, all those sins are eradicated and he is, let's say, meritorious to go back to Godhead. The Supreme Lord says, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamikam Saranamraja. Give up all other varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Therefore, surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the actual principle of religion. Those who have surrendered to the principles of material nature instead of to Krishna are all impious, regardless of their material position. Unaware of the principles of religion, they do not surrender to Krishna, and therefore they are considered sinful rascals, the lowest of men, and fools, bereft of all knowledge. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:15, Namam Duskritina Mudha Papadyante Naradama Maya Prita Jnana Asuram Bhavam Asritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among men, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. One who has not surrendered to Krishna does not know the true principle of religion. Otherwise, he would have surrendered. The question posed by the Vishnu Dutas was very suitable. One who represents someone else must fully know that person's mission. Devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement must therefore be fully aware of the mission of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. Otherwise, they will be considered foolish. All devotees, especially preachers, must know the philosophy of Krishna consciousness so as not to be embarrassed and insulted when they preach. Okay, that's good information. Text 39. What is the process of punishing others? Who are the actual candidates for punishment? Are all karmis engaged in fruitive activities punishable, or only some of them? Okay, so these questions are being asked to the Vishnu Dutas. Purport: one who has the power to punish others should not punish everyone. There are innumerable living entities, the majority of whom are in the spiritual world and are nitya mukta, everlastingly liberated. There is no question of judging these liberated living beings. Only a small fraction of the living entities, perhaps 1/4, are in the material world. And the major portion of the living entities in the material world, 800,000 of the 8,400,000 forms of life, are lower than human beings. They are not punishable, for under the laws of material nature, they are automatically evolving. Human beings who are advanced in consciousness are responsible, but not all of them are punishable. Those engaged in advanced pious activities are beyond punishment. Only those who engage in sinful activities are punishable. Therefore, the Vishnu Dutas particularly inquired about who is punishable and why Yamaraj has been designated to discriminate between who is punishable and who is not. How is one to be judged? What is the basic principle of authority? These are the questions raised by the Vishnu Dutas. Okay. Yeah, because Ajamila appeared to be a simple person, but he is being saved by the Vishnu Dutas, and it seems to be the wrong thing because he was a sinful person. They didn't understand that he said the name of Narayana, although it was the name of his son that he was calling. But the name Narayana is absolute. Therefore, all his sins became purified because he honestly said the name Narayana without any material desires while he said the name Narayana. Therefore, all his sins became purified. Okay, text 40.
Just one question, Maharaj.
Yeah.
So Maharaj, here Ajamil was referring to his son, so that's material in the sense it's like a material body he's referring to. So there is like a hinge of material thing as well, right? Like not hinge actually, he's intent to call his son only, and that is called material.
Yeah.
So how is it like we can understand?
You see, the whole point is the name Narayana is absolute. So at the moment of death, he calls out his son, whose name is Narayana, but he became purified because he said the name of Narayana sincerely, without any material objective, material desire. So he became free of all the sins he had committed. It just shows the power of the name Narayan.
It's like a fire, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
You touch it.
Yeah.
It's
very interesting, very wonderful. Translation: the Yamadutas replied, that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes Dharma, the religious principles. And the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the supreme personality of Godhead, Narayana, and are self-born. This we have heard from Yamaraj. Purport. The servants of Yamaraja replied quite properly. They did not manufacture principles of religion or irreligion. Instead, they explained what they had heard from the authority Yamaraj. Mahajana Yenagata Supanta. One should follow the Mahajana, the authorized person, Yamaraja is one of the 12 authorities. Therefore, the servants of Yamaraja, the Yamadutas, replied with perfect clarity when they said, Susrama, we have heard. The members of modern civilization manufacture defective religious principles through speculative concoction. This is not Dharma. They do not know what is Dharma and what is adharma. Therefore, as stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharma projitakaitavo tra, Dharma not supported by Vedas is rejected from the Srimad Bhagavat Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma comprises only that which is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavata Dharma is Sarva Dharma and Parityajya Mam Ekam Saranam Praja. One must accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender to Him and whatever He says. That is Dharma. Arjuna, for example, thinking that violence was adharma, was declining to fight, but Krishna urged him to fight. Arjuna abided by the orders of Krishna, and therefore he is actually a dharmi, because the order of Krishna is because the order of Krishna is dharma. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaischa sarvir aham eva vedya. The real purpose of the Vedic knowledge is to know me meaning Krishna. One who knows Krishna perfectly is liberated. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo viti tattata jakvadeham punarjanma naitimamiti sarjana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Okay, 1 second. One who understands Krishna and abides by his order is a candidate for returning home back to Godhead. It may be concluded that Dharma, religion, refers to that which is ordered in the Vedas, and adharma, irreligion, refers to that which is not supported in the Vedas. Dharma is not actually manufactured by Narayana. As stated in the Vedas, Asya Mahato Bhutasya Nishvasitam Etad Yad Rig Veda Iti. The injunctions of Dharma emanate from the breathing of Narayana, the supreme living entity. Narayana exists eternally and breathes eternally, and therefore Dharma, the injunctions of Narayana, also exist eternally. Srila Madhvacharya, the original Acharya for those who belong to the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, said, Vedanam pratamo bhakta harir eva yato vibhu ato vishnava maka veda iti ahur veda vadina. The transcendental words of the Vedas emanate from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Vedic principles should be understood to be Vaishnava principles, because Vishnu is the origin of the Vedas. The Vedas contain nothing besides the instructions of Vishnu, and one who follows the Vedic principles is a Vaishnava. The Vaishnava is not a member of a manufactured community of this material world. A Vaishnava is a real member of the Vedas, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaishta Sarvir Aham Eva Vedya. Text 41. The supreme cause of all causes, Narayana, is situated in his own abode in the spiritual world. But nevertheless, he controls the entire cosmic manifestation according to the three modes of material nature: Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, and Tama Guna. In this way, all living entities are awarded different qualities, different names, such as Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, different duties according to the Varnashrama institution, and different forms. Thus, Narayana is the cause of the entire cosmic manifestation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Vedas inform us, Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, natat samas cha vyadikas cha drishyate, parasya saktir vividaya vishriyate, swabhaviki jnana bala kriyacha, Srutasvatar Upanishad 6.8. Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is almighty, omnipotent. He has multifarious energies, and therefore he is able to remain in his own abode and without endeavor supervise and manipulate the entire cosmic manifestation through the interaction of the three modes of material nature: Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, and Tama Guna. These interactions create different forms, bodies, activities, and changes, which all occur perfectly. Because the Lord is perfect, everything works as if he were directly supervising and taking part in. Atheistic men, however, being covered by the three modes of material nature, cannot see Narayana to be the supreme cause behind all activities. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.13, Tribhir Gunamayer Bhaver, Ebe Sarva Idam Chagat Mohitam Navijanati Mam Ebya Vanam Apyayam. Deluded by the three modes, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible, because unintelligent agnostics. Agnostics are people who have not made their mind up yet of surrendering to Krishna. They're not demons, but they're not devotees. So they're just, in the middle, trying to figure out what they should do. Because unintelligent agnostics are mohita, illusion by the three modes of material nature. They cannot understand that Narayana, Krishna, is the supreme cause of all causes. As stated in Brahma Samhita 5.1, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakarana Karana. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the pure cause of all causes. There it is. Very, very clear. Text 42. The sun, fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and supersoul himself all witness the activities of the living entity. Oh, this is a great verse. That means you can't get away with anything. You have all these witnesses to anything that we do. This is real knowledge. This has to be taught to all people, children, right up to adults. They should understand this. Just like one time, there was this devotee, but he engaged in illicit sex. So I said to him, "Why did you do that?" He said, "I thought I could get away with it." You can't get away with anything. There's always a witness. And this is the proof. This verse is the proof. It says, the sun, fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and supersoul himself all witness the activities of the living entity. Now just see how many witnesses there are. Not one, but so many witnesses to whatever we do. So this is very important. We can't get away with anything. We have all these witnesses to anything that we do. Ignorant people think, well, there's no witness, I can get away with this. No. The sun, fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and supersoul himself all witness the activities of the living entity. There it is. This is one of those things you have to put on the wall. Here.
Okay. The translation.
Yeah. To remind us that we can't get away with anything because there are all these witnesses. It's very good to remind us that it's impossible to get away with anything. Purport. The members of some religious sects, especially the Christian, do not believe in the reactions of karma. We once had a discussion with a learned Christian professor who argued that although people are generally punished after the witness of their misdeeds are examined, where are the witnesses responsible for one's suffering in the reactions of past karma to such a person? In other words, it's saying, look, where are the witnesses of karma? In other words, if you say a person has karma. But where are the witnesses who actually saw what they did? Right? To such a person, the answer by the Yamadutas is given here. A conditioned soul thinks that he is working stealthily, meaning stealthily means with no persons watching him, and that no one can see his sinful activity. But we can understand from the Shastra that there are many witnesses, including the sun, fire, sky, air, moon, demigods, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and the Supersoul himself, who sits with the individual soul within his heart. Where is the dearth of witnesses? There's so many witnesses. The witnesses and the Supreme Lord both exist, and therefore so many living entities are elevated to higher planetary systems or degraded to lower planetary systems, including the hellish planets. There are no discrepancies, for everything is arranged perfectly by the management of the Supreme God, Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. The witnesses mentioned in this verse are also mentioned in other Vedic literatures. Haribol. Okay, I think we're finished. This is a very important verse and knowledge. No one can get away with anything. There's always a witness. Even if you don't see the witnesses are there. Who are the witnesses? Well, it says here, it's the sun, fire, sky, air, moon, demigods, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and the super soul himself, who sits with the individual soul within his heart. Where is the dearth of witnesses? In other words, how can you say there are not many witnesses? There are. The witnesses and the Supreme Lord, obviously, is the supreme witness. So therefore it says the witnesses and the Supreme Lord both exist, and therefore so many living entities are elevated to higher planetary systems or degraded to lower planetary systems, including the hellish planets. There are no discrepancies, for everything is arranged perfectly by the management of the Supreme Lord, Swabhavaki Jnanavala Kriyacha. The witnesses mentioned in this verse are also mentioned in other Vedic literatures. Okay. Aditya Chandra Anilo Nalascha Yor Bumir Apo Hridayam Yamascha Ahascha Ratrish Cha Ube Cha Sandye Dharma Pi Janati Narasya Vritam. Okay, now it's not giving the translation, but actually the translation is mentioned. It says, there are no discrepancies, for everything is arranged perfectly by the management of the Supreme God, Swabhavaki Jnanavala Kriyacha. The witnesses mentioned in this verse are also mentioned in other Vedic literatures. And therefore, this verse, Aditya Chandra Anila Nalascha, that's another verse that's saying that there's always going to, if I'm not mistaken, it's saying that there's always going to be a witness to whatever we do. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. This is very important because who are the witnesses? Well, ultimate number one witness is Krishna himself, who's in the heart of every living entity. But besides Krishna, you have many witnesses, such as the sun, fire, sky, air, moon, demigods, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and the super soul himself, who sits with the individual soul within the heart. Now it says, where is the dearth? Where is the dearth of witnesses? In other words, how many witnesses do you want? There's so many witnesses. Okay, this is very good. Now we know that we can't get away with anything. No matter how smart we are, no, we can't get away with anything because there's always a witness. Even though you don't even see the witness is there. The moon is a witness, demigods are witnesses, evening is witness, day is witness, night is witness, directions is witness, water is witness, land is witness, and the super soul himself, who sits with the individual soul within his heart, is a witness, the ultimate witness. Therefore, where is the lack of witnesses? There's no lack of witnesses. There's a tremendous number of witnesses to whatever we're going to do. Okay, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions, my dear devotees, or comments? Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo.
Maharaj, I want to understand what's the cause of all causes means.
What is the cause of all causes?
Yes.
That is actually saying that the cause of all causes is Krishna. He is causing everything. In other words, Krishna is controlling everything in the universe. So he is the cause of all causes. That's what it means.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
We might not see the cause of things, but ultimately, Krishna is the cause of all causes. But actually, we should analyze this a little closer. There are many causes in life, right? Like when there's a theft, someone steals something. So people are trying to figure out who is the thief and why did this person want to steal this thing, and how can we find who this person is? So there's so many questions. So the police every day they have to deal with crimes that are being committed, and they have to try and find out who did it. So they try to understand what is the cause of that thief. Well, what is the cause of the theft that took place? Who are potential witnesses to the theft? and so forth. So the cause in any trial, there has to be knowledge of the cause of the person who is on trial. So, therefore, if they cannot find a cause, and then that person on trial is acquitted. They have to have evidence that there has been wrongdoing. If they can't find that evidence, then the person is free to go away and is not put into jail. So why don't you look it up? Cause of all causes. That's what we're trying to figure out, right? What does that mean? Cause of all causes.
Yes, Maharaj.
Ultimately, cause of all causes is Krishna. What does it say?
It says the cause of all causes is a philosophical concept referring to the ultimate source or the prime mover from which all existence originates.
Okay, that's Krishna. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah.
It did say like this further, but it
Go
says
ahead.
this concept is found in various philosophical and religious traditions, particularly in Hinduism, where Lord Krishna is identified as the ultimate source.
Harivilas. There it is. Yeah. Nothing can happen without me, uh, without Krishna. Krishna is the cause of all causes. He's not responsible, but he is the witness of everything. And nothing can happen without his sanction. But you can't blame him because he's only giving people what they deserve based on their activities. So it can be good, it can be bad, or it can be mixed. So he's the cause of all causes. What does it say? What does it say? Cause of all causes.
The cause of all causes is a philosophical concept referring to the ultimate source or the prime mover from which all existence originates. This concept is found in various philosophical and religious traditions, particularly in Hinduism, where the Lord Krishna is identified as this ultimate source.
Yeah, he's the cause of all causes. In other words, not even a blade of grass moves without
the will of
the
the Lord.
sanction of Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Yes.
if that is the case, people who are doing bad, that's also because of the Krishna's direction, Maharaj, in that case. How we can say if in that case everybody will go and try to do bad things, Maharaj.
Well, see, that's uh, what you would call um, no. Krishna is not the cause of someone doing something bad. people that do bad things, they do it on their own, what you call responsibility. But they will be punished by making the wrong decisions in life, right? So Krishna is not forcing people to do wrong things. Every living entity, I mean, especially human beings, specifically, not animals, but human beings, they have the choice of either doing the right thing or the wrong thing. No one is forcing them to do the right thing. No one is forcing them to do the wrong thing. Although they have knowledge of what's right and wrong, they're the ones that the individual is the one who's going to choose to do either the right thing or the wrong thing. So you cannot blame somebody else. Like someone might say, well, yeah, this thing happened, but it's because, when I was a boy, young boy, my father slapped me on my face. And because of that, now I'm an older man. Because of that, I killed some. That kind of philosophy doesn't work. Everyone is responsible for what they do. You can't say, well, I'm not responsible because, my daddy gave me a spanking when I was 2 years old. But wait a minute, now you're 50 years old and you killed someone. You can't say you killed someone because your daddy spanked you when you're 5 years old. They try and make these type of arguments. It's not my fault. It's my father's fault. He spanked me. No. So when it says the cause of all causes, well, that's Krishna. He's controlling everything. But he's not forcing you to make mistakes. But he is overseeing the activities of what we do. So nothing can happen haphazardly. Everything is controlled. But people, they have two choices in life all the time: either do the right thing or do the wrong thing. So it's not the fault of Krishna if they do something wrong. They have the choice to do the right thing or the wrong thing. So you can't say, well, it's not my fault. It's God's fault. No, it's not God's fault. God is giving everybody an opportunity to do the right thing or do the wrong thing. God is simply setting the let's say situation. Right? Now it's up to the living entity to decide which way he wants to go, right way or wrong way. So someone can say, well, yeah, I killed this person because when I was a young kid, 3 years old, my daddy spanked me really hard. That's not that's not an argument. That's nonsense. Just because he got spanked when he was 3 years old, that's why he murdered someone when he's 60 years old. That's complete nonsense. So we have to be rational and understand that we are responsible for the actions that we perform. We can't blame it on someone else. That's all. Finished. Okay, my dear devotees, thank you very much. We'll stop there and carry on until tonight, where we have more philosophy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
All glories to Prabhupada.